Welcome to Shazoo, Hampton Road's top spot for politics. This show is going to be brought to you by important folks and organizations, like always. My wife, Andrea Dixon, an excellent workforce developer in Virginia government, founded this channel. Love you, proud of you, all that you do, and can't wait for the next Black Swan. My neighbor, Miss Ellen, is the owner of Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue. And if you live in Virginia Beach, near a region, her restaurant is your best bet for soul food. Same with Portsmouth on Portsmouth Boulevard. I am a big fan of her fish, whiting, catfish, excellent stuff. Mr. Seiko Varner founded the community action team, the 757 Battle Cats, the Beach Brothers Show, which got me my start in all this podcasting stuff, and the Get On Code Show on our Black Empowerment YouTube channel. His business, Positive Vibes Incorporated, helps so many of us with private financial assistance, and he's a great DJ too, so look him up. 757-932-0177. And of course, Farley Perkins and ELG Suite Boutique. Farley can get you great insurance for many different coverages. The Farley Perkins Agency fits your needs. Just hit up 757-271-6655. And ELG Suite Boutique is a great confection and shake place on High Street in Portsmouth. It's women owned. It's a delight to the senses. Go check it out. Now on the show. We are witnessing a national tragedy in the various counties in the greater Los Angeles area. Wildfires have swept through much of the city, taking over 15 lives and destroying thousands of buildings and homes. As tough as this is, it's important to know where we stand as a people to this, as a public mind, a government mind, political, climate, etc. Los Angeles, as we know, is the United States' second most populous city. It's a massive economic engine. I'll first point out 5 days before these began, around January 2nd, authorities were reading the tea leaves and began warning of a big threat of wildfires. Above normal significant fire potential was what it was called. Various fire and weather services sounded this alarm for days. Conditions were very windy. Humidity was very low. Los Angeles had entered an official moderate drought condition in December 2024. Did you know LA was at its second driest wet season in 150 years since record was being kept? In 2024, LA suffered its hottest summer on record. In 2024, many private insurance companies in California stopped offering fire insurance, and some plans were canceled by those companies. Insurance companies, as we stand now, are facing losses over $10 billion. Damages are going to be over $50 billion. Resulting concern, is it right that these companies stopped offering fire insurance? Now, I don't exactly like the idea of telling insurance companies that they must cover something like fires in California, especially as they already know that the area is increasing in its likelihood of massive destructive fires. There is a solution to that. Much like there's a solution to the tens of thousands of deaths and insane costs of the American private healthcare system. The solution is a national insurance model. In healthcare, it's single payer. It's called Medicare for All. Can you imagine expanding FEMA to be a natural disaster guaranteed insurance model? It's easy. I'm picturing it right now. You can too. Then again, you can just as easily imagine not funneling 7 million people into a fire-prone area with such extreme wealth throughout. This is also decades of bad development in land management. Now remember why private insurance companies don't want to do it there anymore. Climate change is making this more likely. Also, capitalists in other sectors of the economy are making real estate way too expensive. Remember, local taxes are largely funded on taxation of property. There's an incentive to continually make real estate worth more and more and more. And we see this alongside another crisis going on right now, America's housing crisis, where so many can't even afford to buy property. Remember, at the end of 2024, we can note how much homelessness increased. Even in the great economy the Biden administration alleges is going on. Compared to 2023, homelessness increased 18%. Remember, just because the GDP is growing and job numbers are increasing, it doesn't mean it's any more comfortable for you to live here. Did you know the top 1% of American households own over 30% of America's wealth? And that disparity is increasing fast. It was 23% in 1990. It's increased further in the 2000s, and unless we do something about it, we're going to fall further and further away. As these disasters get more frequent and more costly, I'll remind us how important it is for all of us to get into a cooperative mindset and embrace a teamwork, focused way to battle our changing climate. Battling climate change should be a national and international thing in scope, but local officials are needed to properly respond to these things, as well as they'll design the way we deal with new things. Did you know the most recent LA budget passed $817 million in its fire department? Did you know that the year before, LA's fire department was at $837 million? LA reduced its firefighting budget before these fires. That's on local officials. It's also on the public sentiment to stop being so authoritarian, so fiscally conservative. Here's what I mean by that. In an LA budget, with tough discussions like any city, the year or year sufferer was the fire department. But the city's police department increased by $126 million in the same time span that the fire department lost tens of millions. The police budget is over $2 billion. Ask yourself, does LA need a $2 billion police force right now? Or does it need a $2 billion fire department? I dare say the public's affinity for a few things like low taxes and lower spending, but still a big police budget, creates a contradiction. And like now, it's a problem in LA. So I want your mind right, because this is the perfect time to get angry at government, local, state, and federal. Don't pull an opinion like former congressional candidate Virginia's Mary Jones is out. Here's what it is. That the media only wants to cover California fires and didn't provide any help and coverage to Hurricane Helene ravaged through the Southeast. Only volunteers helped there. That's Mary Jones's opinion. We're a big country. We've got a strong media presence. Daily, we're seeing new tragedies like terrorist attacks in New Orleans, fires in LA, hurricanes last fall, gun violence all the time. Government was heavily involved in responding to hurricanes like Helene, and we need a stronger FEMA and a stronger EPA. But we're about to see both of these things slashed by the upcoming Trump administration, and they'll blame Democrats as they do that. So don't be like Trump and believe policies to preserve wetlands cause LA fire hydrants to run dry. They didn't. The water system, even in drought, was above expected levels, but LA is an area surrounded by mountains, with water sources from outside the city funneling water into the basin like a tree with many branches. Many folks live on those mountains, and the fires are up there too. The severe demand crunch emptied the tanks before the pump system can get enough pressure up to replenish it. Trump and many others parroting him wanted you to believe that that was a Governor Newsom, a Democrat situation, where water was diverted to preserve something like river melt. No, it was a pump system met with high demand. That's science in the limits of human engineering. It's not a Democrat plot. Trump went on to say Newsom was prohibiting water from flowing into California. They made a scapegoat of the fire chief as well, because they want you to think a gay woman leading a fire department is a danger. But they're silent on increased infrastructure spending and love to flood the cops with money. Trump, more often his Republican underlings, want you to think DEI and wokeism create issues when underfunding government resources actually do. Because they're habitual distractors, not solution-oriented minds. He and others make you think something like FEMA is dried out because of Biden. Trump literally said Biden is leaving him no money in FEMA. Remember, Jimmy Carter, rest in peace, created FEMA. Republicans don't like the concept of federal spending for disaster relief anyway. But still remember, FEMA isn't dried out. Allocations simply come from federal funding. And remember back to September when over 100 Republican federal lawmakers voted against an additional $20 billion to FEMA in part of the shutdown package last year. Additional Biden signed legislation which upped the FEMA balance to $27 billion this recent December. So there is money there. Stay mindful, folks. The Trump presidency ahead is going to be an epic time for us to be mindful of reality. There is notable reason to blame Democrats too, like the reduced fire department funding and the continued support for incarcerated individuals to be firefighters at times like this. Remember when Kamala Harris was AG of California? I told the courts that they shouldn't release nonviolent prisoners because they provide a cheap source of labor for the state. That's just a fact that seems a bit underreported in this discussion of the contributions of inmate firefighters and the abusive conditions under which they operate. Hundreds of them are fighting these fires now with incredibly long shifts, making less than like $10 a day. Remember back to that $2 billion police budget. What you need to be doing is creating a massive public cry for further federal funding of disaster relief, overhauling local fire departments in fire-prone areas, as well as increased measures needed to improve our water systems, as well as increased measures to combat the greater threat posed by man-made global warming. If we don't, we're still going to face the cost. Facing it right now. Over $50 billion in Southern California just with this set of fires. We just won't have the prevention. So get your mind right. You guys have a great night.